Anti-roll bar link rods. These connect the suspension to the anti-roll bar and allow it to move. They can wear out. There's a knuckle joint in here which can wear, and you'll get that light sort of knocking noise, rattle almost, as you're going over bumps, driving along the road. On this one, the boot's failed, so it's going to let the grease out, or the lubricant, and let dirt and grime get in there. So we're going to have a look at how to test them, see if there's play, and how to replace them. The worst thing about ARB link rods is they're exposed to the weather. Obviously the wheel's flinging up all sorts of road grit and salt in the winter, so the nuts are prone to seizing, so we might get a little bit of an adventure there. But first thing we're going to do is, I've got the jacks underneath the car, both sides. I'm going to jack this thing up as high as I can get it, give myself more room in case you need to get a bar in there to get anything off. Then we're going to get the wheels off. So before I jack it up, I'm going to use the weight of the car and the handbrake to stop this wheel from spinning as I crack off these bolts. The easiest way to take the wheel off is put your socket on in your extension bar and pull up. You can get a lot more power pulling up. You see people trying to push down. If you slip when you're pushing down, you're going to punch the floor. Whereas if you slip when you're pulling up, you're going to stand up. So crack them all off. Just so they're loose. The wheel's not going to fall off. But now when we put it up in the air, we can just buzz the nuts off and it'll be easy. I'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll jack it up, get the wheels off. Now we locate the jacking mount, put the jack on it, lock the cylinder, and then just jack the car up. We're going to do this in stages because we're going to go both sides at the same time. We've got two jacks, one either side. So we'll find a good strong jacking point underneath both sides, and it takes a couple of minutes. It's a lot safer. Two axle stands. I'm going to leave the jacks in. I've lowered this down so the weight of the car is on the chassis, on the axle stands. This wheel's stuck on, which isn't uncommon because you've got an aluminium wheel and a steel brake drum, or brake disc rather. So what you can do, just screw the bolt on a little bit so this wheel doesn't fall off. Give it a kick. Now it's loose and it's not falling off. Then we can just take it off, get it out of the way. So here's our ARB link rod. It's got one nut at the top there, which is fixed to the suspension. And then down the bottom here, that's the anti-roll bar, or sway bar, as some call it. Now this, as I expected, it's rusty. So the first thing we want to do is get in here and clean this up. Get as much of this rust off as we can. Use a good rust penetrant. I like this stuff, Intertech D-Block oil, and we'll just give it a little squirt. We're not washing it with the stuff. Let that do its thing, and we'll go round and clean up the other side. We've had a few minutes for that to soak in, so now give it another wire brush. If there's anything that the oil's loosened off, it'll hopefully come right out of the way now, and just make winding the bolts off easier. Give it another spray. Now to test if there's any play in this, you get yourself a big bar, longer the better. Put something underneath it, and then you can rattle it, see if you can feel any movement. Do that in both directions, find somewhere where you can hook it in underneath, further down, and then see if you get any movement in there. But you may not be able to see it. The best way is to get your hands on it, because you can, if you've got your thumb, something touching the actual roll bar, and then your fingers around the link. If you put your whole fist around it, all your fingers around it, you'll be able to feel any movement. Do that top and bottom. Yeah, see, that one's good. I'll loosen that nut to try and demonstrate that a little bit better. Now we've undone that nut, we'll have a look at what the actual joint looks like if there's a bit of play in it. So we'll put our bar underneath and then you can lift it. Now this is extreme because obviously that nut's loose, but see the movement. If there was play in this joint, the nut and thread wouldn't be moving, this would be moving as one, but you'd get that movement, and more importantly, you feel it. And that's the sort of noise you'll be hearing as you're driving along. Obviously it sounds slightly different in the car, but that's how you test for any play in it. Remember to do top and the bottom. Now if we look at the new link rod, there's a threaded part to it. On a lot of them, where this one's round, they'll have a flat either side so you can get a spanner on it. On this one, they've actually put an Allen key fitting on the inside. This one's a 14mm nut, and then to get the Allen key in, I'm using the socket type, but it will be full of all sorts of years of crud, so you're going to have to bang it in basically. There's no point in having it just at the first couple of mil, because as soon as you put any pressure on this, that's going to fail. Well, that's good. That's the bottom one. Now it's getting a little bit tricky. Now I'm spinning the centre here, but on the new one, you don't really want to do that. You'll hold the centre still and turn the nut, but hopefully the nut will be easier to, we'll just be able to wind most of it on all the way. Put the spanner on, give me a little bit more torque. Ah, there we go. Right, well, that put up a fight. Years ago, I used to have this product called Offshore, and it was blue, it's like a grease, and I found it perfect for this situation where the thread's all rusty. I mean, that's actually hot now, just for undoing it. So there's the old one. This is the good side, so you can see the boots aren't actually that bad. These are nylock nuts, so you better wind it on so far, and then it will stop. I'll get the bottom one in, use my bar to lever it up, just to line the holes up a little bit easier, and then get that nut on, and then we just do them up. Then the new ones are 17mm. It's not uncommon to take one size off and put a different size on, same as these are round. You might find the ones you get, rather than having an Allen key in the front, may have two slots, so you'll put a spanner in behind it and do it up that way. I actually prefer them because you could just stick the spanner on and then put a zip gun on it, job done. Makes it even quicker. This way you've got to use a spanner because you need to put an Allen key through the front of it. So to get our 17mm, get our 5mm Allen key. I'll only be able to use this spanner so long because there's raised edges on this, but it'll do to get most of it on. So this is a nylock, so it's going to be a little bit stiff, but it's a lot easier than the other one was getting off. We'll get this down as far as it'll go. That side's done now. What we can do now, straighten the wheel up, put the wheel back on. We're going to do the other side. Careful what you wish for. Story so far, see the bottom one cracked off all right, and then became tight, so I had to resort to the mole grips. But this top one, I managed to crack it off, but it's actually now it's putting I don't know if you can see that, it's actually putting a twist, very slight twist in this Allen key. It's only 5mm, it just can't take the torque that you're putting through it. So now this is a nice example of what can go wrong with these. So I'm going to cut the boot off as best I can, get that out of the way, because that's that rubber, we don't want it. It's stopping me from getting a good grip on the metal. So get that off. I can't really see what I'm doing, but get that in there. There's my screwdriver. There we go. And hopefully now I'll be able to get a decent purchase on the metal part of it. No, I'll get off there. There we go. Right. This was the one that was actually split, so it's not a massive shock that this one's got a lot of water in it and corroded it. Let's get these in here now. Keep tightening these up and loosening them until I can't go any more, and then hopefully that should give me enough. The other thing I'll do is I'll probably unwind it, give it a squirt, maybe wind it back on again, see if I can't get this nut moving, just to get a bit of heat in there, and then that'll expand the nut a little bit, make my life easier. I'm trying to do this all by hand, but obviously in the garage we just stick a air gun on this. I've got a bit of heat now, I can't even move it, which I may well do. Come on. Oh, she's solid now. Right, I've got enough room to get in there with a big bar. I might try that first. Let's see. Let's try it again. Right, this is going to get noisy. What I'll be doing is I'll be doing it up and then loosening it off. I'm not going to try and just whiz it off all in one go, because if it grips, it could then start spinning the mole grips. There's no point in damaging it if you don't have to. That thing's shut off. Yeah, that nut is still warm now, but that comes off hot. So just working it backwards and forwards, otherwise that'll start spinning. And once you chew up the metal that we're holding on to, and it's actually jammed on. Give me a. There we go. See, I made a nice couple of dents. It grips it better. Whereas if you try and take it all off in one go and that starts spinning, you then chew this up, and if you ain't got a lot of metal there to grab hold of, it makes the whole thing harder. But that's the one that the boot was split. and in there, see, that's a knuckle. Now this is quite grindy. I don't know if you can see it kind of jerking. That's not me. Whereas this side, you can feel it. It's nice and supple. That's what that boot does. It keeps all the road grit and everything out. You can see like there's all sorts of muck in there, and then that like grinding paste and wear that knuckle away, and then it starts rattling. So a little split. That's why they fail them. But yeah, that's long gone. So new one in. There we go, that's that side done. Wheel back on now. I'll just double check the tightness of these. So both of them nuts are done up tight. Stick the wheel back on. Just line it up. Unlike the other side, this one's pretty clean. So they didn't need any cleaning up, but easiest way to put a wheel on. Stick a nut or a bolt in. Wind the bottom one in. If you get that in so it's just touching, the wheel's not going to go anywhere. If you wind the top one in loosely, the wheel will swing out. So just wind it in loosely, don't do it up tight. Again, with most things, get all the nuts in, or bolts, screws, whatever, before you tighten it up so that it can make sure the thing's sitting flat and sitting where it needs to be. If you put one in, or you could put a wheel on and potentially, especially with aftermarket wheels, have it clocked slightly and wind it up. I'm just putting a bit of tightness on these. Bit of tightness, that's not a phrase. Let's do these up a bit. Now I'm going to jack it up, pull the axle stands out, lower it down, and then I'll get a torque wrench and torque these up when it's sitting on the ground so the wheel's not going to move. ARB link rods, sway bar link rods. That's how we do them. Quite nice that we had a bit of a rubbish one to look at. Nice and easy job. Probably only going to take you half an hour aside if it goes well. If it comes off as a manufacturer intended, can be a little bit tricky, but just bear with it. There's a few things you can do. Worst case scenario, you can always cut that nut off because you're not going to use it. There's a new one with a new link. Hopefully this one's useful for you. Give it a go. See how you get on. Have a look at my other stuff. I'll see you on the next one.